Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tuesday, September 5th, 2017 meeting of the Burke County Board of Commissioners, pre-agenda meeting. Welcome you and ask you to silence your mobile devices if you have those with you. At this time, I would note that all commissioners are present with the exception of Commissioner Abley, who is away on the doctor's appointment this afternoon. And I would also ask that if you're making a presentation today that you come to the table here in front of us and use the microphone so that everybody can hear you and see you out in the internet world and television. All right, this time, gentlemen, we'll approve the agenda. I hear a motion for approval.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Maynard. All those in favor?
Is that with revised?
Yeah, the closed session needs to be revised as well
Okay.
to include economic development.
Gentlemen, you will note that we do have need for a closed session, and that will be authorized by NCGS 143-318-11, 4, 5, and 6. All right, with that note of addition, I'll entertain another motion.
So moved.
All right, you've heard the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. All right, thank you. Brings us to presentations. This afternoon we have several presentations. And first one being from our county manager, presentation of county branding project.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, we've had some discussions, and there are several things happening here in Burke County at this point in time. Of course, the School of Science and Math is one exceptionally notable one, but of course this building here is one as well. The Mechatronics expansion at the community college, the expansion of Continental Industries. So we believe it is now is a good time to try to capture that and brand the county. And Mr. Alan Van Oppen has been assisting us in that. So Alan, if you and your daughter can come up.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Do you want me to turn the lights down?
Well, thank you very much for having me here today. I wanted to walk through the steps of what we consider to be our assignment, how we approached it, some research that we did, some early drafts of the work that we did as we approached the brand, and then sort of the final brand and some folks that we have talked to get their input and whether or not they supported the look, and then answer any questions you may have. So with that, my name is Alan Van Oppen. I started Van Oppen Marketing in 2001. So for 16 years, successful years, we've been building brands and doing marketing and primarily business to business, but with governments, small towns, real estate, tourism across the Southeast. But if you do a 3-hour, 4-hour radius drive, that is the bulk of our business. We're a full service marketing agency and cover the gamut from the whole spectrum of internet marketing, which is social media, websites, which we do a ton of, to your traditional marketing, branding, PR, ads, billboards, things like that. So our goal, our assignment was to build a new brand for Burke County. And it was the assignment was a fresh graphic brand that reflected the emerging commitment to technology, science, education, who we are today, who we will be tomorrow, much more of a forward-thinking approach, while at the same time not losing sight of our heritage or getting too much smoke and mirrors and keeping it true and organic to our personality and our character. So the new brand, it had to reflect the character of Burke County. It had to imply and reflect the tone of the future of Burke County. We felt it had to be fresh, bright, and different from any other county, and certainly from any other endeavor that a municipality has done. It had to be professional, of course, but it had to be simple. It had to be applicable across the whole spectrum of wherever you would want to apply this logo, be it hats, billboards, flags, signs, wherever. And we wanted it to reflect unity and collaboration within the county. To get things started, just out of curiosity, we went and researched via Google the fastest growing counties across the country that were growing because of education, technology, science, and math. And the logos were, as you will see, all over the boards in terms of sophistication, style, character. Some of them were just downright no good. Some of them were pretty good, but most of them had a shape of some sort that could be pulled out and used as an icon. So we got to work. These are a couple early rough drafts. We wanted to reflect the symmetry of mathematics in the logo. We tried a variety of color palettes. You see a lot of green and blue around Burke County, and there's a reason for that. It is truly organic and sort of who we are. We tried not to use that, but we kept coming back to it. It felt more natural. The one on the left, you have sort of the perfect nature spiral you see in everything from conch shells to sunflowers. It didn't work for a variety of reasons. You wouldn't get credit for the spiral. It would break down when you shrank it. Then we took some mathematical sine waves and applied those, the one on the right. It didn't work because when our graphic designer showed it to me, I first thought of Wachovia. Those who remember Wachovia, I think that brand would look like it. You'll notice that the underneath there are Greek. That was space for a tagline. We wanted a tagline of some sort to reflect who we are. So we wanted to show the mountains, we wanted to show sky, we wanted to show water. We went back to square one, and I think we went further back than square one and came up with the one on the left, which to me looked too amateurish, too loose. I didn't like it a bit. We tightened it up, made it a little more sophisticated, the one on the right, but it still looked clunky. So we still had a ways to go. We tweaked it a little further. We liked the shapes. We liked the colors. So we refined it on down into this one. The green being the natural flow of the mountains, the blue being the flow of water. The downward slope of the curvature there is, again, part of has a mathematical symmetry, curvature to it. And it also reflects, as I'll point out in a little bit, some of the history of Burke County. So this is what we started sharing with some of y'all. And there were a couple of really good suggestions that came out. First of all, we needed a tagline that reflected businesses and education and something that was different from everybody else. In my work across the county and people that I talk to, I keep hearing the word advancing and the word advancement. Burke County is really advancing. We're really going places. All of us are really in for a much better Burke County because of the growth. So we wanted something to convey that. So we came up with all about advancement. And we applied that to the logo. One of the comments that came out was advancement is a static word. And we're not really advancement, we're advancing. Furthermore, the curve, if you see the left-hand side, it's an upward slope, then it drops, and then it curves back up. The upward slope on the left-hand side sort of reflects the tremendous growth of Burke County when textiles and furniture were just booming here. Then 2008 rolled around, all the jobs went to China. The banks closed up, gas prices went up, interest rates went up, real estate market dropped. So we felt that decline as well. But we're clearly on the rebound now, so it's beginning to sweep up. So from this shape, 2 comments. Let's change the word advancement, and let's have that upward slope have a little more of an upward lift to it. So we went here. Burke County, all about advancing. There's a nice standalone icon that can be used anywhere. It's clean. I think it speaks to who we are. The font of the type is deliberate in a couple ways. One of them, you see this heavy light combination used in a lot of places. But secondly, it is similar to the Burke County Chamber. Well, we wanted to begin to tie in with other Burke County entities. So that's a sort of a deliberate font treatment. We went to Jerry Davis with that, of course, and said, what do you think about it? And he thought it was great. He was 100% supportive of the whole, of the look, of the tie-in with the font, of the tagline. As everybody knows Jerry, he's got decades of marketing experience. So that was a big endorsement. You can apply, as you see here, 2 cases, letterhead, business card. It looks sharp. I think it fits. We have not seen that icon, that shape anywhere. You know, there are shapes that look similar, but not that one. And I have not seen all about advancing anywhere, that tagline. So I think both of them are very unique, and maybe we think about protecting them somehow. And then finally, one of the comments that came out was, does this logo reflect or imply enough about who we are in terms of Burke County? The unique shape of Burke County, the mountains, does it really say who we are? You know, a 5-star county, our credibility. And my opinion was, if we really did anything else to the logo per se, we would be dirtying it up, would pollute it, would make it too busy, reduce the simplicity of it. But what that comment pointed out to me was that I could not find in any Burke County website a nice, neat boilerplate paragraph that said who Burke County is from an official statement. Where you're located, what your demographics are, what your industry sectors and representation is. I couldn't find it on the county website, on the tourism website, on the chamber website. So this is a template of a press release, and down at the bottom would be the boilerplate. That's the first draft about Burke County. And when that is done, I think you need to deploy that across all your stuff. And with that, I'll take some questions and see where we go.
All right, thank you, Alan. Any questions for Alan on his design and work? I think all of us have had opportunity to meet with Alan and talk with him as far as our board is concerned.
Yeah, I think I asked all my questions and input in a one-on-one meeting
Okay.
before our meeting, so.
Yeah, if it hadn't been for Mr. Taylor's questions, the all-important boilerplate would not have surfaced. I think that's a key element you need to have in your collateral. So thanks for pointing that out.
And BDI was also contacted about this.
Sure, thank you. So I took it to BDI, showed it to them, took it to Kevin at the School of Math Science, took it to some officials at Western Piedmont, to Jerry Davis. And my question, the way I put it to Kevin was, would the School of Science and Math be proud to put that logo on their website as we're in Burke County and have that logo there? He said absolutely.
All right, any other questions, comments?
I think it looks good.
Thank you.
All right, Alan, thank you very much.
Before I leave, I'd like to introduce Nancy Van Oppen, who's back here. She's our lead front-end web designer, does graphic design. She just finished her master's in fine arts. She will be with you in 2 weeks to do the formal presentation. I want her to meet. See you all.
Very good. Thank you very much. Without objection, this item will remain on our agenda. All right, this brings us to item 2, Health Department proclamation declaring September as National Recovery Month. That'll be presented by Lisa Moore from our Health Department.
Good afternoon, one and all, Commissioners, County Manager, Madam Clerk. So I am proud to be sitting here to represent National Recovery Month for all those recovering from most anything, but what we're trying to do is use it for our substance use disorder epidemic that we're having within the county and across the nation. And this will be a jump start to our community forum that we are trying to put together, and we'll be hosting on Thursday, September the 28th. 7:30 to 12, and we hope that all of you will be able to make a point to join us for that. It will be at the Foothills Higher Education Center on the left side of the building that the county owns. I did bring some copies of the forum, so if anyone in the audience or anyone here would like a copy to take with them somewhere, it would be wonderful.
All right, very good. Gentlemen, you've had opportunity to take a look at the proclamation. Any questions on the proclamation or the upcoming forum for Lisa?
Mr. Chairman, not really a question, just an emphasis, if you may, that her proclamation points out there's been a 22% increase in the EMS's calls for drug overdose or drug abuse, if we could put it that way. And 58% of DWIs are not from alcohol, it's from drugs. And just how important this has been. The only comment that I would make, and I've made it at the county convention and here, it seems like we need to jumpstart and get people not to do it, not treat it. And my point is, can we prevent it? And your second whereas addresses that question too, which I appreciate. But I think all of us as parents and grandparents need to really do our homework with our own kids and say, hey, don't do that stuff. And don't just say it, show them why. So, and maybe we can stop some of it on the front end.
We are actually going to try that with this being our priority for the 2016 Community Health Needs Assessment. The group's been meeting. The Wellness Initiative has an action plan set aside, and it has a little level of everything from prevention and awareness to actually trying to lead them into some treatment and recovery. We're trying to cover all aspects in any way we can, so it will.
Thank
But
you.
yes, we can use all the support we can muster. That would be great.
Any other questions for Lisa? Again, thank you, Lisa, and I'll remind you again once again, Thursday, September 28th from 8:30 to 12 at the Foothills Higher Education Center. I hope that many of you and those in our community will take advantage of this forum to consider all that we may be able to do to help substance abuse in our county. All right, without objection, this item will remain on the agenda as well. Brings us to item number 3, update from Partners Behavioral Health Management, and that'll be presented by Tara Conrad. Tara, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you for allowing me to come and give you an update on what's been going on at Partners and to give you some figures for the last 12 months ending June 30th. So I think Lisa did a great segue into this topic of behavioral health services. So looking at, again, our charge by the state is a managed care organization for those individuals receiving behavioral health care through Medicaid dollars or indigent care through state dollars. Thank you. As well as some county dollars. So I wanted to show you some figures. On the total served, we served 4,907. Now, while that number may seem low, a lot of these individuals are in treatment for months to a year on end, depending on what their particular need may be. So if you look at the diagram, I'm not going to break it, or I'm not going to go over every category, but it does break it out between Medicaid and non-Medicaid. Non-Medicaid services are funded through state dollars. And you can tell by the grid there that mental health is the primary disability of individuals being served, the adult mental health population specifically, with 1,453 individuals. Substance use came in second with the adult over 21 population. The cost of serving these individuals In Medicaid dollars and state dollars, we've spent $31,454,000 in this county. You can see by the breakout that the primary group was intellectual and developmental disabilities. So while this particular population did not rank high in regards to higher than mental health or substance use, it is our largest cost per disability group. And reason being, those individuals have long-term and lifelong disabilities. Mental health came in second, different from the numbers served. Children's services and mental health cost more than adult services and mental health. They're coming in at 10.9 million. Any questions on those two slides? So when we look at county expenditures, and again, we're very grateful to have county dollars, that pot of money is our most flexible pot of money. We are very limited on how we can spend Medicaid and or state dollars. So county dollars allows us some flexibility to do some things that need to be done in the community, but things that would not necessarily have a specific billing stream attached. So for an example, for Good Samaritan Clinic, they provide psychiatric support and medication for some indigent folks. Through the course of the year, they saw 357 unique patients and wrote over 2,000 prescriptions for individuals with behavioral health issues. The services in your local jail, our provider there is Catawba Valley Behavioral Health Care. They saw 496 patients initially when they came into the jail. 409 engaged in treatment, mental health and or substance use treatment while they were in the jail. Now, some of those individuals may have refused services or they may have been discharged before the service actually started. Catawba Valley Behavioral Health Care also provides psychiatric support. That's one of the larger cost of a treatment service for individuals with behavioral health needs. You can see Catawba Valley saw 1,075 distinct patients with the funding received from the county. System of Care Community Collaboratives, they are groups within each county that we serve. We're very unique in that we have adult and child system of care groups. But they're comprised of multiple providers and community stakeholders here in Burke. And they do a variety of things. They look at the needs within the county. They identify specific projects to work to address those needs throughout the year. So some examples of what they did for us this past year was provide quite a bit of training on mental health first aid, which would be training for community members, faith-based, teachers, whatnot, to look at early symptoms of mental health issues, and they're taught what number to call, how to get someone linked to services. So we provided 4 mental health first aid trainings. 55 individuals were trained. 1 youth mental health first aid, so that's geared more to your school-age children. They provided 3 question, persuade, and refer trainings. That's a suicide prevention training. 1 community forum. They assisted with that. I think Lisa's talking about a second forum upcoming. They provided 1 I See Hope training, or actually the county dollars purchased the license required to provide that specific training. That training is geared for kids 4 to 18, and it really looks at bringing awareness and education to mental health issues and helps reduce the stigmatism. And you can see they provided 1 training with 18 individuals trained. They also provided it to the school counselors. So some of the school counselors are certified to train I See Hope, and they trained students. So between April and June, you had a total of 684 students within the school system trained. My little caveat again was the NAMI group actually provided the training, but the license, which is required to be able to do the training, was purchased through collaborative funds. Respite services, we use a provider called RHA. We used a little over almost $3,000 for a startup cost for an adult program. That particular program is a 4-bed adult respite facility to treat dually diagnosed individuals, those with intellectual developmental disabilities and a mental health issue. Psychiatric services, individuals going inpatient at the local hospital. We, of course, fund some through state dollars, but that's not enough to cover all that are indigent that present at the hospital. So we use some county dollars to help offset that. And they served 102 individuals in the psychiatric unit that were indigent. So any questions? It's been a short and down and dirty.
Questions for Tara?
Thank you very much. Good report.
Short and sweet. Thanks.
Thank you, Tara. With no objection, this item will remain on the agenda. This brings us to scheduled public hearings. First one will be from BDI, Building Reuse Grant for Project SOAP, and public hearing that'll be presented today by Alan Wood. Afternoon, Alan.
Project SOAP is an expanding business in Burke County. The project total expenses expected to be about $4 million. 20 new jobs. The grant request was $250,000. This is a business that I think we should support their growth. It is a code name project, so we do have to hold name of company close at hand until the project is announced. And one thing that I do, once I would like to keep it on the agenda, however, it is not going to be presented the next round of grants, but will be in the November, December cycle instead. They're checking on some other issues that they found that they're dealing with, so they wouldn't be able to hit this cycle that the grants have been submitted actually, or the request would have been submitted in September for October approval. So all it did is just back it up for 2 months, but I would like to leave it on the agenda for approval.
All right, any questions for Alan on this matter?
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Wood, if I understand that they're not going to know about their grant of $250,000 until October.
Actually, it would be November, or December is the timeline, which would still fit in.
So you're asking for us to pre-approve this as agenda.
Well, and then it would only be approved if their grant was approved.
If the grant went away, obviously the $6,250 matching dollars would be voided.
That is correct.
I have no problem with that.
Other question? All right, thank you, Alan. Hearing none, this item will remain on the agenda.
Thank you.
Item number 2, Community Development, Resolution to approve Fonta Flora Farm Brewery in Burke County, and public hearing, that'll be by Scott Carpenter, Deputy County Manager, Planning Director.
Mr. Chairman, board members, I didn't think this day would ever come. We started this process a year ago, I guess, trying to get it to where breweries were allowed to serve alcohol much in the way that wineries could. And with the help of one of our distinguished commissioners and elected officials, we managed to get the farm brewery language into House Bill 500, and that went over to the Senate, and it was finally approved. So essentially what the legislation does is, we had 2 versions that we had discussed, and the reason that we were discussing them is Fonta Flora brewery that is in Morganton was wanting to expand out there to Whippoorwill Dairy, and they wanted to manufacture their malt beverages there. And it turned out that if they did, they found out they wouldn't even be able to have tastings, and they would not be able to serve any of the products that they produced. So through those discussions, and they're very well known, I mean, they bring a lot to the table. They even were mentioned as being awarded the Tourism Development Authority's, I think, most distinguished business last year for tourism. So they bring a lot to the table, and that's where the discussions got started. So we had drafted up two things. Before this was passed, what somebody would have to do to sell a glass of beer is they would have to be a private club. And so if you remember Buckhorn Tavern that sits out there at Three-Way Supply, Buckhorn Tavern created two tennis courts. And then they claimed that they were a private club and that they were a sports club even. So around the state, you found these peppered around. And what I didn't like about that is it's misleading. It's not truthful, and it's not what they do. That's in my opinion. And so we wanted to find another way to make this right through some legislation. So we had two versions of the legislation. The first version was to create the farm breweries and to give them the same status that wineries held in the state of North Carolina, which allows them to do the tastings, to sell their products to people visiting the wineries and doing tours and that type of thing. And there was no provision for breweries. And as you know, breweries have been exploding in the state. And I think Asheville, North Carolina, just Buncombe County, now has 35 breweries with 15 more being permitted this year. Statewide, there's about 350 breweries that are either existing or in the makes. So anyway, what this legislation did is it allowed farms that grow products to become authorized as a brewery as long as the Board of Commissioners or City Council in the dry city or dry county voted for a resolution in support of that brewery. And so the bill was very short, and of course it got sucked up into a big bill that's 16 pages long with many other provisions for alcohol this year, but also did a resolution. I hope that you all have had a chance to read it. I won't read it now, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you all may have on the resolution and how we came about working on this.
All right, thank you, Scott. Any questions for Scott on this matter?
I didn't, Mr. Chairman, I did not have any questions on the resolutions as such, but I did, in reading, I guess you said that 20 pages that followed.
Right.
But it kind of amused me more than anything else. Page 20, item B, and both items under B, 7 and 8, fixes the price of $20 for 4 liters. And my concern with that, that's the first time that I remember we fix a price on a product. But my biggest concern is if I'm a brewer and it costs me $24 to produce that 4 liters, do I continue to sell it at $20 and lose $4?
I'm not sure what page we're looking at, Mr. Mayor.
It's page 20, I believe.
Is it there on the screen?
It's actually the second page of the statute.
Yeah. Oh, wait, is it on the second item?
That's spirituous liquor, different statute.
Okay, all right. We'll stay on the resolution then.
Yes, sir. Those are done with distilled spirits.
Yeah.
And ours was a malt beverage bill.
Well, as I stated, I read the resolution. It seems to be in order. I don't have a question on it.
Any other questions for Scott? Scott, how does this tie in, or does it tie in at all with the referendum going on to the ballot in November?
The ballot in November to vote to legalize beer and wine in the county.
Right, if that were approved, would this be necessary?
It would essentially go away, but it was necessary because it does the provision statewide, which was one of the intents when we were talking. So it allows for other counties and cities this option, but for Burke County, it would essentially go away. But no, let me correct that. It would still be there to allow farm breweries, but we're going to have to address where do we want to allow bars and alcohol in the county? So we're going to need to have a discussion of what zoning needs to be in place in order to control where establishments serving alcohol can be located. We need to do that. Would you like for us to start looking into that prior to the ballot initiative?
So if I understand then, if the initiative is approved, then that's another item we're going to need to think about in terms of
Right.
zoning.
That's right.
Well,
And the
Might
farm
not
breweries
be
will
a
be
bad
allowed
idea.
regardless under this same provision, since it's state law.
Okay. Other questions, comments? Okay, thanks, Scott. Without objection, this item will remain on the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, one PS, we didn't have another agenda item that spoke to the bill, and it was behind yours, so it's not part of anything that we have control over.
This state law?
Just says Senate Bill 155 is where I got that, which follows your,
No, sir, we have no control over that. The only thing we have control over is the
it's a
referendum.
proclamation that addresses that they can sell it, but they must follow by this bill's.
By those rules.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. And the-
So do you know the answer to my question?
No.
But the part of this legislation dealing with this subject, I guess, is section 6, where it begins to talk about off-site storage location for breweries, wineries, and distilleries maybe, or other parts of this bill, tasting tours, and so this bill became lots of things for.
It became lots of things. The tastings actually came from us originally and were broken out separately when we found out that you weren't even allowed to have tastings at breweries anywhere in the state, and we thought that was sort of hard to believe. And so that was in our original draft version. It was broken out and put into a different place in this bill. It's unrecognizable in its form from what it started out from.
Mr. Chairman, since we got him on the ball and chain, one other question. On page 21 of the first thing, one of the questions I was going to ask you, and it goes through all the different permits, 400, 300. For an average brewer doing tasting, how many of those permits would he have to open his doors?
I don't know. He would have to go through the ABC Commission and whatever they determine.
Any idea how many?
No, I'm imagining.
But he couldn't open on just one of them, is my point.
Of those, I haven't gone through it specifically, but it's probably 3 or 4
3 or 4.
for them.
Okay. That was my 2 questions.
Okay. All right, thanks, Scott. Without objection, this will remain on the agenda.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, this takes us to item 5, consent agenda. Madam Clerk, appointment to BPHM.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Donna Sahlstrom's term on the Partners Behavioral Health Management Board of Directors ended June 30th. She is not seeking reappointment at this time. We received an application from Linda McCreary for your consideration, and the term is for 3 years.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any question on this item?
Mr. Chairman, Donna is moving, is the reason she didn't reapply. And you have later in your agenda her replacement for the Mental Health Board. But Madam Clerk, I'd certainly like a card sent appreciating her service, et cetera, et cetera. But she really didn't want to quit. She just, they're moving, and that mandated her to, she could no longer serve.
Okay, thank you. Other comments? All right, hearing none, this item will remain on the agenda. Item 2, clerk appointments to the Board of Adjustment. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Seat number 1, which represents the East on the Board of Adjustment, is vacant. An application was received from Mr. Jim Pierce, a resident of the Smoky Creek Township. The term is a 3-year term and would end September 30th, 2020. Mr. Robert Love occupies seat number 3, which is a West seat on the Board of Adjustment. Mr. Love has applied for reappointment to serve another 3-year term. I can also report that Mayor Cook submitted an application today. We have another couple of east seats that are vacant on the Board of Adjustment, and if you would like, I could add her application appointment to this item.
Okay, I think that would be in order. Any questions on this matter? Okay, hearing none, this item will remain on the agenda. Item number 3, Clerk, reappointment to the Jury Commission. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Robert Love's term on the Jury Commission ends September 30th. He has served on this commission for many years and has applied to serve another term, and it's a 2-year term ending September 30th, 2019.
Any question on this item? Hearing none, it will remain on the agenda. Item number 4, that amounts to the Sea Trail Day proclamation by Mark Rostam. Afternoon, Mark.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here on behalf of the Friends of the Mountains of Sea Trail to present this proclamation that would make September 9th, which is this Saturday, Mountains of Sea Trail Day in Burke County. The proclamation that was submitted to you is a slightly tweaked version of the one that the Friends of the Mountains of Sea Trail submitted to the governor to be signed. I don't know if it's been signed or is about to be. And I don't really have much of a prepared presentation, but I can answer any questions about the proclamation, the Mountains to Sea Trail, or the event. Saturday is the 40th anniversary of the Mountains to Sea Trail. Not of the trail's existence, but from the day it was first proposed. Saturday would be 40 years to the day.
All right, very good. It looks like an interesting event. And I guess each commissioner could be assigned to one section of the trail.
You're more than welcome to join in, but I'm sure you all know what our trails are like around the Limble Gorge. They're pretty rough.
Yes.
But we have about 50 people signed up in our segment, which for me, it runs from Black Mountain Campground to Beacon Heights. So about 25 or 30 miles of the trails in Burke County.
All right, very good. Any questions on this matter? All right, hearing none, this will remain on the agenda. Thank you very much for being here. Item number 5, Community Development, award construction contract for Ponta Flora Trailhead by Scott Carpenter. He's back.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. So, we're finally ready to start some construction on the trailhead out there at the county park, which we think the design is excellent. It was done by Destination by Design. It's quite detailed. This trailhead itself will be very detailed and one of a kind. So we put it out for bid, and we sent it out to 7 or 8 companies. I forget exactly if it was 7 or 8, and asked them to bid on this. But what we're learning is that they consider $200,000, $225,000, $300,000 a very small project, and a lot of the companies aren't even bidding. And some of the cities are telling me that the projects they're putting out to bid now are coming in up to 25, 30% over what their estimates are from their architects and engineers. And so what we did, we were afraid of that happening when we put this out to bid. And so when we put it out to bid, what we did is we created the base bid, which is essentially the parking area and all of the vegetation and the things that create the impression as you come up to Burke County Park. And then we divided out some other elements in case we had budget overrun on what our estimates were. So we had estimated $225,000 to $230,000 for everything. So that turned out to be well under what the other people were thinking. As a matter of fact, not a single one of them thought they could do it for anywhere near that ballpark. They were all well over 300 in all discussions. So we created bid items for the vault toilet, and we created another one for the picnic shelter and the surrounding area around it. And we created another alternate bid item, number 3, for the gateway area and the trail connector area landscaping. So what we did is when we only received one bid, we told them that there's some other things we would like to be done, and they used their engineering firm, and they came up with ways to still get the same base project done by eliminating a couple of items. And those items are on an attachment there. And one of them was deleting a timber retaining wall that's shown on one of the worksheets known as H9. And the way they were able to do that is simply through grading and moving dirt in a different manner and getting the same effect as that small wall. The other thing that we changed is we changed the paving thickness from 2.5 inches binder course and 1.5 inches surface course to one layer of 2.5 inches, which is about what a normal road is. So we had some overkill built in there originally because we wanted it to last a super long time. And so we eliminated that, and so those two items together allowed us to put back in one of the bid items that had been separated, and that is item number 3, the gateway area and trail connector area landscaping. We just didn't feel that we could eliminate that. So that's what we have in the bid, and I think we did as good as we could under the circumstances. And I'll be honest with you, if it weren't for a personal relationship with Destination by Design and the contractor, we may have had 0 bids on this, and we'd be going back out again. But this is a strategically very important trailhead as we continue our efforts on the county park and getting things there, as well as the Fauna Flora Trail, and as it connects into the mountains to the sea trail, this will serve as one of those trailheads for that as well. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have on this.
All right, thanks, Scott. Any questions for Scott on this?
Mr. Chairman, one quickly on that, changing that thickness.
Yes, sir.
From 2.5 down to 2.5.
Yes, sir.
Will that affect the grant of that money of the $224,000, or have we have stipulations on it that would keep us from doing that?
No, we're fine. We ran it through the engineers, and it's all within the overall
Now,
scope.
by doing this with this firm, we still only got one bid,
Yes, sir.
and we're allowed to continue with one bid, or do we need to resubmit?
We are, because of the amount of the bid. If it were a construction project, I believe over $300,000, we would have tried to bid again. But we asked, and we inquired as would we be more successful if it went out again. And the answers we had from others, I called some of the guys that didn't bid and asked them why, and essentially they said it's just not enough for them this busy construction demand time. But I don't think the results would have been any different.
So what I hear you saying is with this bid, we don't lose anything and we stay within the parameters that we need to be budget-wise.
Yes, sir.
No other questions?
All right, any other questions? On the first page of the bid proposal, there's discussions there about vault toilets and all those other items, 1, 2, and 3.
Yes, sir.
Those items remain, is that correct? Or-
They will only be doing add alternate number 3 bid to the base bid. Alternate item 1 and 2 will not be built, but I will find someone to build the picnic shelter. So we will find somebody who will hopefully donate that to the county.
So does that leave us a trailhead with no toilet?
It does. But the vault toilet, I'll be working with our new engineer, and he believes we can cut that amount in half. There's this particular toilet that was designed is all one-of-a-kind construction, which increases your cost considerably. We're going to look at something that we can change the look on the outside of it and still get the same desired effect.
We're gonna keep on with the toilet, right?
Yes, sir. But it won't be in this,
It is to me.
it won't be in this contract.
Okay. And I live with a lot of women. It's extremely important to most of them. Okay, thank you, Scott. Any other questions on this matter?
Did you all get a copy of the tree that's under construction for the trailhead?
We did.
It's, going to be quite something, isn't it?
Or, yeah, we got an email, I think.
Yeah, I'm expecting a lawsuit from termites or us.
It should be out there next week, we're hoping, so.
All right, thank you, Scott. This brings us to items 6, 7, and 8 from our tax department. Danny, you all right today?
I'm doing well. Hope everyone else is.
Thank you. Item number 6, EMS collection report.
Now, for July of 2017, our year-to-date total is $243,806.35, which represents almost 8% of our budget.
All right, any questions for Danny on this item? Hearing none, that'll remain on the agenda. Item number 7, the tax collection report for August 2017.
Okay, collections report for August. We've got current year taxes of over $25 million collected, which represents 56% of our budget. Delinquent taxes, $154,000, which represents almost 22%. And our late list penalty group, $56,000, which represents almost 20%.
All right, any questions for Danny on this item? He should have these printed in front of you.
Mr. Chairman, the discount for paying early ended August 31st.
Yes, it did. Yeah, we're at par now, so whatever the original tax amount is will be the same until January the 5th.
Question on this item? All right, without objection, it will remain on the agenda. Item 8, release refund report for August 2017.
Okay, on the release report, number 304 shows $27,887.96. After the rebills of $7,287.63, we get a net release amount of $20,600.33. The refunds for the tax system are $2,797.45. For the vehicle tax, the adjustments are $119.02 and a proration of $814.16.
All right, thank you, Danny. If there's any questions on this item, gentlemen, of course, you've got all these in front of you. If you have questions, you don't have time today, I'm sure Danny will be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Certainly will.
Later. Any questions right now? Hearing none, this item will remain on the agenda without objection. Thank you, Danny.
Thank you, gentlemen. Have a nice day.
Brings us to item 9, Western Piedmont Council of Governments Home and Community Care Block Grant Amendment for 17-18, presented by Tina Miller. Tina?
Last but not least,
That's right.
last time I was in front of you, we had some cuts to funding, and so luckily I'm in front of you today to say that Burke County received an additional $29,724 for home and community care block grant services, which provides services for older adults in the county, working with the Burke County Council on Aging members that are appointed by this group. They met and decided how to allocate that $29,724. Each of the current providers of service in Burke County spoke to their utilization of funds, what they wanted, what they could use, what they couldn't use. We wanted to make sure we didn't overburden a provider with funds that they would not be able to utilize. And you'll see there on that chart that is provided how the increases were allocated. The biggest difference is that they did allocate $8,000 to general transportation services to Greenway Transit. to bring them into Burke County to provide services. General transportation services can help get folks to the congregate nutrition site, taking them to and from the site. They can also take the folks at the site to other things if they wanted to come here, for example, to the senior center or an event at the library or anywhere else. And then they can also help the general public, again, older adults who are age 60 and over, with other general trips. The senior centers are very excited to have this possibility of having the general transit and what that could possibly mean with, helping some folks that have, transportation issues to be able to utilize some services. And so, with that ask and the funding, this Burke County Senior Services, was willing to not take ask for any additional funds for home delivered meals or senior center operations if the transit, general transit could be funded instead. So they were all in favor of doing this. So we're very excited. Greenway, spoke with them, and they're very excited to be able to get into Burke County. I think this is just a start of what we could do. So asking your approval on the recommendations by the Council on Aging for the utilization of that $29,724.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. You've heard this information from Tina. Any questions?
How can we be unhappy with more?
Okay. Good problems to have, like I said. All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, without objection, this item will remain on the agenda as well. This brings us to item 6 for decision. I have 2 items today to consider. First one being Board of Elections funding for City of Hickory primary election. That'll be presented by Debbie Mace, our Elections Director. Debbie.
Madam Clerk, ladies and gentlemen, as chairman of the Burke County Board of Elections, I was asked to make this presentation. In the presentation, we're here for one simple reason. Hickory has 32 people who live in Eichard 5. Therefore, the laws of the state require us to do an election for them. We will have early voting at the Board of Election offices, which we're required to have at least one early voting site. The other site will be in Eichard Precinct. We'll also use absentee ballots. We're asking that our budget be increased by $3,000. That $3,000 of whatever amount of that $3,000 we spend will be reimbursed to the county totally by the City of Hickory as required by law. Those items include approximately $100 to print ballots for those 32 people. The state requires us to have a ballot for every person registered to vote. And the people that have to print our ballots do not do it cheaply, I must add. The coding, auditing, the layout, we're estimating that would be about $1,100. Office expenses, supplies will be about $150. Legal ads, and we're required to advertise in a newspaper the same as though it were 100,000 people voting, so it's going to cost about $900. The poll workers for the polling will be about $750, hence $3,000 that we're asking you to increase our budget by. Do you have questions?
Any questions on this matter? I don't suppose that there's anything that we could propose to the state. I certainly not at this time, but wouldn't there be a better way to do this? Could Hickory not do these?
If you're asking me, yes, there would be, but the law does not allow Hickory to do that because they live you must vote in the county in which you reside, no matter what municipality or anything else.
Is that something we should advocate for? I guess is
I
what I'm
wouldn't be
saying.
opposed to it. I'd support it. I think it's a waste of Hickory's money, to be quite honest. They could add very few. They're already doing their advertisement in Hickory City. We have to do it in Burke County, kind of thing. So lots of money could be saved. Everything that our government does in good faith isn't always the most economical way to do things.
I'm sure we're not the only county in this predicament.
However, if you did not have them in your county, you would not realize county tax you collect from
That-
those individuals that you're
That's
registering.
exactly right.
And Mr. Chairman, if I can just shed a little bit of light on this, we used to let Catawba County vote these 32 people. But what that meant was, well, the city of Hickory got involved and said, hey, why are we doing this? When these people live in Burke County, they should be voting in Burke County. So they raised the flag. We did for many years vote those 32 people in Catawba County. And for some reason, when I talked to the Hickory County manager or city manager and their mayor, they said, we want those 32 people voting in their own county. And I said, okay. Well, then the state got wind of it and they forced us to take those 32 people. So now we have to we're just gonna open our office and not hire any extra people. We're just gonna, if 32 people come in at one time, it won't kill us. But that's all we have is 32 possible voters. So we're not gonna have any extra people in our office. We're just gonna do that. And then on election day, the law requires us to open that precinct, which they're out of. It's Ward 5 and it's Ickard 5 at the Longview Rec Center. And we have to open it from 6:30 in the morning to 7:30 in the evening, even if there's only one voter left. So we don't like it. But they didn't ask.
Okay. All right, gentlemen, you've heard this information. Any questions for the elections folks, Trosty and Deb?
Put this over on consent.
Is any problem, Counselor, with putting this over on consent rather than having it on the decision?
Shouldn't be. Save them a trip up.
That'll save you guys another round of this.
We appreciate that.
Madam Clerk, any problem on your end with that? No? Okay, all right. Well, with everyone's consent, then we'll move this item over to the consent agenda and remove it from the decision agenda. Trosty, Debbie, thank you all for being here.
Thank you for allowing us.
Brings us to item number 2, Community Development Condemnation Appeal Case, file number 156-17, 2526 Woodburn Drive and 2532 Woodburn Drive, presented by Bradley and Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, if you will, just late insert here just to make everyone aware. If you'll take one and please pass that around. Those were photos of the site in question from earlier today. Basically, to summarize, we have 2 dwellings and structures which caught fire. We had a complaint report brought to our attention, went through the general statute guidelines for the purpose of a condemnation hearing for these 2 structures. The first structure in question that caught fire is the single-family dwelling located there in the, I believe, the bottom right photo, which was a single-family home. That structure caught fire in April of this year. Per the fire marshal report, 3 days later, we had a structure fire located to the mobile home to the top left, which did some damage there to the kitchen area. As mentioned, we did have a complaint reported there to it, went through our proper channels and our code of actions on what we turn to do. Basically, a 60-day order was issued out from Steve and from the Building Inspections Department for the 2 structures in question. A copy of the order has been included with your attachment and packet. The property owner, Frank Benfield, by his legal right, filed an appeal within 10 days of that order being issued. The purpose for his appeal is basically, and in short summarize, his insurance provider, Brinkley Insurance, located out of Valdez, will not grant clearance for any work to be done for the demolition of the single-family home. So basically, that is in limbo at this moment. As we expressed to him during our hearing, the only way he could give any clarification or anything beyond that was to file the appeal, which is the purpose for what we have here before you today. From going to the site earlier today, there was a large collection of junk, which was located behind the property there. Cleanup has been done for that. So work has already began from Mr. Benfield to try and remedy and bring the property into compliance. And speaking with Mr. Benfield today, The manufactured home, which is located there to the left-hand side, is the property of his daughter, but is on his legal property. So he cannot produce a title for that mobile home to either be sold or demolished. He's in the process of trying to get that worked out either through DMV or through the necessary channels to make that a reality. Once Brinkley Insurance gives clearance and closes out the matter, demolition is set to occur for the single-family home. Within the appeal, basically before you, you have one of three options. You can uphold the 60-day order as handed out by Steve Holden. You can affirm and modify, meaning you can change the amount of time given for it, or you could revoke it entirely and allow all the structures and the matters that are before you to remain. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to entertain them at this time.
All right, thank you, Bradley. Any questions for Bradley or Steve on this matter?
Well, it appears to me that if he can't do anything per the insurance firm, we have no control over the insurance company. And according to your information, he will clean it up as soon as that is done?
According to what information's been provided to us. In speaking with him today, he basically had turned in an affidavit and a notary statement there to the insurance provider and is expecting feedback within the next 2 weeks. From myself, as a recommendation and approval for you, I would withhold the 60 days and keep it as it stands from the date of your official ruling from his appeal. That basically puts him at the beginning of December. Surely by then, he should have something in writing from his insurance provider. From that, long-term, Mr. Benfield is looking to establish a new home, a new manufactured home, whether it be a single wide or a double wide. I believe by zoning it would have to be a double wide, which would be an upgrade from the single wide in the photo. Once that is done, proper permits will be obtained, and that would be the only structure remaining on the property. Whereas right now, it's less than 3/4 of an acre, and it had 3 dwellings on it. So, our biggest concern and goal is to make sure that the solid waste and the trash and the eyesore, which was the concern of the neighboring citizen, is ultimately cleaned up. Mr. Benfield hasn't neglected to that, has not stated that he doesn't intend to clean that up. I think it's just proper channels that he can't touch anything.
Other questions?
How long has Brinkley been investigating?
For this matter itself, the only information I have not established contact with anyone from Brinkley. Mr. Benfield does have a third-party outfit which is representing him, who did speak to me by phone. The fires themselves occurred, like I said, April, I believe the 15th and the 11th, per the fire report. I don't know if the withholding is for potentially foul play. That I don't know.
Was the fire determined to be suspicious?
They're investigating arson.
The insurance company is investigating arson or the sheriff?
The insurance company.
The insurance, okay.
Yes.
Well, in reality, if the insurance did not provide adequate replacement or costs, it could go to court. I believe we have the mayor of Hildebran here. How long has that building been burned and stood there? 2 years. 2 years. I have no trouble, Mr. Chairman, leaving the order as is, but with the understanding if the insurance is the problem, that we renew it and to reconsider. I think we owe that to, hopefully the insurance, for homeowners that are usually a little faster, and of course, if it gets tied up in court, it's up to the courts, and you can talk to JR, how long that might
That'd be tomorrow, wouldn't it?
I think there'd be an ask here just to give him 60 days to try to clear this up. If you leave it as is, then I believe his time is up.
That's correct. Ultimately, by him filing the appeal, basically everything kind of gets put on hold. So in a sense, he's basically bought himself a month that he's technically didn't have to do anything. what I'm hopeful for is I don't know that going beyond 60 days to give an open blanket statement would really benefit us. At the same time, as Mr. Chairman had stated, if insurance does get involved and there is some legality on him getting anything, because really financially he doesn't have anything to be able to put back. I don't believe the daughter has the financial capability to afford anything to there. I don't believe he has any secondary source of income to turn and be able to provide himself a new home. So really, this would be the holding block on him doing anything long-term there altogether. For a budgetary cost, of course, you know, if insurance were to deny it, him not have anything provided back to him, it would then fall to us as the county to do the cleanup, which would then be bids, process, so on and so forth.
What stance have we taken for him living in the camper?
That is, by zoning, it's not allowed. That's been expressed wholeheartedly to him.
And his response?
He has nowhere else to live. That is why another reason I don't see the reason for giving a prolonged open statement of just unlimited. I think that we do need to set it strictly as that, as given within the order. That unit was to be vacated within the 60 days, something were to be established permanently. The manufactured home does have damage to the kitchen. It's not beyond repair. I also explored that option there with him also. You know, you could take what insurance money you get back, fix the mobile home, that puts you in through there if in fact they don't give you the payout that you're expecting. Tried to explore every option with him to put him in something beyond that of the camper. Now, from his statement to us, his insurance provider is who's paying for the electrical service for the camper to be occupied, which is by county rules not allowed.
Is he using the holding tank as sewer, or did he hook up?
There's an existing septic system for a former house that used to be at the site, so there is no sewage on the ground. It's going into a septic system. Still doesn't make it right, but
it's better.
Correct.
What's the next step if the insurance doesn't pay and he still wants to continue to live in that?
Ultimately, at the end of that, if by your ruling, if the 60 days is what we're placing it on it, from the meeting on the 22nd, 60 days would count off. If nothing is done to bring it in compliance with Steve's order, we disconnect the electrical service from the home or from the campers, and then from there we begin the process of cleaning it up ourselves.
Other question? So do we want to go ahead and ask the clerk to use the 60 days, or do we want to wait and make that decision later, or leave it like it is? What's the pleasure of the board?
Well, number two, I think if you extend it 60 days, it'd go 5 months instead of 3 months, correct? Is that?
The 60 days is the maximum amount of time that can be allowed per the general statute. Anything beyond that has to be provided out from you.
Okay, Madam Clerk, you want to, for our meeting, if you will change or make the motion to be for the 60 days.
So option 2 was 60 days.
Yes, ma'am. Any other questions? All right, thank you, guys. All right, this brings us to our times of report. Of course, we'll have reports at our regular meeting, but I will report today gladly that I have completed my 2 hours of ethics training. Madam Clerk, you will note that duly. Other items for discussion. Man, this says JR's birthday. Is that today, JR?
No, it's Thursday.
Thursday. Well, happy birthday in a couple of days.
I'm as old as Paul.
All right, that brings us to item 9. We do have a need for closed session today, as we noted earlier, per General Statute 143, 318, 11A, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We'll relocate to the library computer lab for that after about a 5-minute recess. Do I hear a motion that we go into closed session?
So moved.
Opposed, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you very much. We'll take a 5-minute recess.
My window's up. I kept looking at that.
Okay, gentlemen, hear a motion, we come out of closed session.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye. All right, Madam Clerk, we had the closed session. No items were decided on during that closed session. No other matters of business before us. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. All in favor say aye. We adjourn.
Hello, my name is Lisa Moore. I'm with the Burke County Health Department. Recently, the 2016 Community Health Needs Assessment was completed, and the top 3 priorities identified to work on for the next 3 years are mental health, poverty, and substance use disorder.
Substance use disorder, those fighting addiction to alcohol and other drugs, continues to be a growing epidemic across the United States and here in Burke County. Almost 100% of property crime and the majority of violent crime in Burke County is drug-related. We all, from many different disciplines, are trying to work together to decrease these rising numbers.
That's why, during September, proclaimed as Recovery Month, the County Commissioners, the County Manager, the Burke Wellness Initiative, and several community agencies are hosting a community forum on substance use disorder. It will host 2 panels, one with professionals in the area of substance use, and a panel of community members that have been personally impacted, along with a community discussion. The forum will be held on Thursday, September the 28th from 7:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Foothills Higher Learning Center on the left side of the building.
Breakfast will begin at 7:30, and you can register to attend at the SurveyMonkey link listed on your screen below. And for more information, you can contact Lisa Moore at 764-9218. We hope you will join us for this important forum and discussion. Together, we in Burke County can work toward a safer, healthier community.